Chosen one, I need you to listen carefully. This message is not for everyone. This is urgent, and it is divinely timed. If you are not walking the path of God, if you are not aligned with His calling, this message will not stay with you. Only those who are truly chosen will feel the weight of these words and stay until the end. And if you are here right now, understand this clearly. This message reached you at the exact moment God intended. Not early, not late, perfect timing. Something has shifted in the spiritual realm, and you can feel it. Your blue power, the authority God placed within you, has activated in a way it never has before. And the truth is this: it is scaring the elite. Those who once felt untouchable are now uneasy because they can no longer control what they do not understand. You may not even realize how powerful you've become, but they do. And that is why resistance, pressure, and silent opposition have increased around you. Stay with me till the very end, because today you will finally understand what is happening, why it's happening now, and what God is calling you to do next. Before we continue, chosen ones, give a like to this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, turn on the bell icon, share this message with other chosen ones, and comment 777 to declare that you are aligned with your divine mission and walking boldly in God's truth.
What the blue power really is. Chosen one, let me slow this down for you, because many misunderstand what this blue power truly is. It is not ego. It is not superiority. It is not imagination. And it is definitely not something you forced into existence. This power did not come from desire. It came from alignment. Blue power is spiritual authority that comes from truth, not loud truth, not aggressive truth, but calm, unshakable truth. It is the kind of authority that doesn't need to announce itself. It walks into a room quietly, yet everything adjusts around it. That is why people feel exposed around you without you saying a word. This power is rooted in God's order. In Scripture, blue has always represented divine instruction, heavenly authority, and spiritual depth. It is the color of obedience, clarity, and revelation. So when I say blue power, I am talking about the authority that flows when a person stops fighting God and starts walking with Him. You didn't wake up one day and decide to be different. Life pushed you into depth. Pain sharpened your discernment. Silence trained your spirit. Disappointment stripped illusions away. And over time, without even realizing it, you stopped needing approval. That is when the power began to form. Blue power is the ability to see clearly while staying calm. It is discernment without paranoia. It is confidence without arrogance. It is strength without aggression. And that combination is rare. That is why it cannot be replicated. You may have noticed something about yourself recently. You don't react the way you used to. Things that once triggered you emotionally now feel distant. You observe more. You speak less. And when you do speak, your words carry weight. That is not coincidence. That is maturity of spirit. This power also comes with restraint. God does not give authority to those who need to prove themselves. He gives it to those who can be trusted with silence. That is why you were trained in seasons where nobody clapped for you. That is why you learned to stand alone without bitterness. Let me tell you something important. If you had received this authority earlier, it would have destroyed you. You needed humility before influence. You needed obedience before clarity. You needed discipline before visibility. God never rushes the formation of those He intends to use deeply. Your blue power is also why manipulation no longer works on you. You can sense dishonesty without proof. You feel energy shifts before words are spoken. You recognize patterns quickly. And this is not because you are suspicious. It is because your spirit has been trained to detect what is misaligned. This power makes people uncomfortable, especially those who rely on masks. Because when you are present, illusions weaken. You don't expose people by confronting them. You expose them by being authentic. And authenticity is threatening to anyone who lives through deception. Notice this too. You are not drawn to chaos anymore. Drama feels heavy. Loud spaces drain you. Surface-level conversations feel exhausting. This is not you becoming antisocial. This is your spirit protecting its frequency. Blue power carries peace, and peace disrupts systems built on fear. You see, most control systems rely on emotional instability. They need people anxious, reactive, insecure, and constantly seeking validation. When someone becomes emotionally regulated and spiritually grounded, control breaks down. That is why your calm frustrates people who want reactions from you. This is also why God allowed you to experience confusion before clarity, loss before understanding, silence before revelation. He was teaching you how to hear without noise, how to trust without signs, how to stand without support. And now that the training is complete, the power is evident. But listen carefully. This power does not mean life becomes easy. It means life becomes clear. You still face challenges, but they no longer confuse you. You still experience resistance, but it no longer shakes you. You still walk through storms, but you know who is in control. This blue power is not about dominance, it is about alignment. When you align with God, everything else either aligns or removes itself. And that process can feel uncomfortable at first. Relationships shift, priorities change, old versions of you fall away. You may even grieve parts of yourself you outgrew. That is normal. Growth always comes with loss. But what you gain is far greater. You gain peace that cannot be manipulated, identity that cannot be stolen, and authority that cannot be challenged by deception. Let me be very clear with you. This power is not meant to make you fear the elite. It is meant to remind you that no human system outranks divine authority. What scares them is not your ambition, it is your obedience. Because obedience places you outside their reach. And that is why things are shifting now. In the next part, I will explain exactly why the elite are reacting at this moment, why their fear is increasing, and why your very presence has become disruptive without you lifting a finger. Stay with me. What you are about to understand will bring deep clarity and unexpected peace. There is another layer to this blue power that many chosen ones don't realize at first. This power changes how heaven responds to you. When you speak, even quietly, your words carry weight in the spiritual realm. Your prayers are shorter now, not because your faith is weaker, but because your alignment is stronger. You no longer beg, you agree with God. You may have noticed that certain doors close without effort. Certain paths feel blocked, even when they look good on the surface. That is not punishment. That is protection responding to your authority. When your spirit matures, God no longer allows you to walk into places that would dilute your calling. Blue power also sharpens your sense of timing. You feel when to move and when to wait. You sense when to speak and when silence is more powerful. This is why impulsive decisions no longer sit well with you. Your spirit resists rushing because divine authority flows through patience. And here is something that may bring you peace. This power does not isolate you from people. It filters who can access you. God is not removing love from your life. He is removing confusion. What remains will be clean, honest, and aligned. That is why even loneliness feels different now. It no longer feels empty. It feels quiet. And in that quiet, God speaks clearly. Do not rush this season. Do not try to explain yourself. Those who are meant to understand will feel it without words, and those who feel threatened were never meant to walk beside you. Your blue power is not something you defend. It is something you steward, and that alone is enough to shift everything. Why the elite are terrified now? Chosen one, I want you to hear this without fear and without imagination running wild. The elite are not terrified because you are loud. They are not afraid because you are trying to rise above them. And they are certainly not watching you because you are seeking power. That is not what unsettles them. What truly disturbs them is this. You are no longer predictable. Systems of control have always depended on one thing: emotional instability, fear, confusion, reaction. When people are anxious, they are easy to guide. When people are insecure, they are easy to manipulate. When people doubt themselves, they look outward for authority. And for a long time, the world has been structured around that pattern. But you stepped out of it. You didn't rebel, you didn't fight, you didn't announce anything. You simply stopped responding the way they expected. And that is when the fear began. You see, chosen one, the most dangerous person to any corrupt system, is not the angry one. It is the calm one who sees clearly. It is the one who does not need approval. It is the one who cannot be baited into emotional reactions. When someone reaches that state, they cannot be controlled. Your blue power dismantles control silently. Think about this. You no longer rush to explain yourself. You no longer feel the need to prove your intentions. You no longer chase validation from people who misunderstand you. That alone breaks the system, because control requires engagement, and you withdrew your energy without hostility. This is why resistance around you feels strange lately. It is subtle, passive, quiet. Doors close without explanation. Conversations feel tense without words being exchanged. People sense something has changed, but they cannot name it. That discomfort is not imagination, it is spiritual exposure. You are carrying clarity into spaces built on illusion. The elite thrive where truth is blurred, where people doubt their intuition, where moral lines are flexible, where fear overrides discernment. But your presence sharpens lines. It brings definition, and definition is dangerous to systems that rely on confusion. Let me say this carefully so you understand it properly. They are not afraid of you personally. They are afraid of what you represent. Alignment, integrity, discernment, authority that does not bow to intimidation. And here is the part that may surprise you. The fear increased recently because you stopped seeking permission. At some point, quietly, internally, you made a decision. You stopped waiting for confirmation from people. You stopped asking the world who you were. You accepted who God called you to be, even if you didn't fully understand it yet. And that internal shift triggered external resistance. You didn't declare it out loud, but heaven registered it. That is why pressure intensified. That is why distractions increased. That is why certain people suddenly became distant or critical. It was not random. It was response. When someone aligns deeply with truth, false structures sense instability. Now listen to me carefully. This does not mean you are in danger. Fear is not your portion. God does not awaken authority only to abandon it. What you are feeling is transition tension. Old systems losing grip. Old expectations losing power. Old narratives collapsing. And collapse always creates noise. The elite are terrified because your blue power does something they cannot replicate. It cannot be bought. It cannot be trained artificially. It cannot be transferred through status or money. It is forged through obedience, suffering, humility, and time. And those are things they cannot manufacture. You were shaped in pressure, not privilege. You learned discernment through disappointment. You gained wisdom through silence. And that process produced something real, something solid, something that does not crumble under scrutiny. That is why manipulation no longer works on you. You can feel when something is off before logic catches up. You sense motives beneath words. You recognize when energy shifts, and you trust yourself now. That trust terrifies them, because a person who trusts their discernment does not follow blindly. They question quietly. They move intentionally. They cannot be rushed into agreement. They cannot be emotionally hijacked. And here is something important. The elite fear exposure, but not public exposure, spiritual exposure. When truth enters a system, it destabilizes it from the inside. It doesn't need to shout, it just needs to exist. Your presence does that. That is why some people feel uneasy around you without reason. That is why you feel watched without evidence. That is why environments shift when you walk in. You are not imagining it. You are not paranoid. You are simply aligned. But let me ground you here. You are not called to fight them. You are not called to confront them. You are not called to prove anything. Your role is not aggression. it is embodiment. God did not give you this power to create fear. He gave it to establish peace. And peace is the most disruptive force in a world addicted to chaos. The elite rely on urgency, fear-based decisions, constant pressure, noise. When someone carries peace, they slow everything down. They create space for clarity, and clarity exposes deception naturally. That is why your calm is threatening, not because it is defiant, but because it is uncontrollable. You don't panic, you don't rush, you don't fold under pressure, and you don't chase what isn't aligned. That combination makes you impossible to manipulate. So if you've been feeling increased resistance lately, let this settle your spirit. It is not because you are doing something wrong, it is because you are doing something right quietly. The fear you sense around you is confirmation, not warning. In the next part, I will walk you through the signs that your blue power has fully activated, so you can stop doubting yourself and finally understand what God has been forming within you all along. Stay with me. This is where clarity deepens and peace settles in. Signs your blue power has activated. Chosen one, this is where many of you begin to doubt yourselves. Not because the power is not real, but because it doesn't look the way the world taught you power should look. God's authority rarely arrives with noise, it arrives with awareness, and awareness can feel unsettling before it feels peaceful. Let me walk you through this slowly, so your spirit can breathe while you listen. One of the first signs your blue power activated is this. Your inner world became quieter, even when your outer world became more complicated. You may have noticed that situations which once sent you into anxiety no longer have the same grip on you. You still feel emotion, but it doesn't control you. You pause more, you reflect more, you respond instead of react. That pause is power. Another sign is discernment without effort. You don't need long explanations anymore to sense when something is off. You feel it immediately, not in fear, but in clarity. You can sit with someone and know when words don't match intention. You can sense when an opportunity looks good but isn't aligned. This is not judgment. This is spiritual sight. And here's something important. You are no longer drawn to everything that sparkles. The noise of ambition, attention, and validation has lost its pull. What once excited you now feels empty, and what once bored you now feels meaningful. That shift is not loss of passion. It is refinement of focus. Many chosen ones struggle here because they mistake this for depression or detachment. But listen carefully. Depression drains you. This does not. This clarifies you. It removes excess. It simplifies your emotional landscape. It teaches you to value depth over stimulation. You may also notice changes in relationships. People you once connected with effortlessly now feel distant. Conversations feel shallow. Humor doesn't land the same way. And sometimes people react to you strangely without explanation. They may project onto you. They may misunderstand you. They may grow defensive for no clear reason. This is not because you changed into something cold. It's because your presence now carries truth. And truth makes those who avoid themselves uncomfortable. Another sign is your relationship with solitude. You don't fear being alone anymore, but you also don't isolate out of pain. Solitude feels purposeful now. It restores you. It grounds you. It's where clarity deepens. You no longer escape into distraction the way you used to. Silence doesn't scare you. In fact, noise does. That is a major sign of authority. You may also feel tired in a way that sleep doesn't fully fix. This exhaustion is not physical alone, it's spiritual recalibration. When power activates, your nervous system adjusts. Old coping mechanisms fall away, hypervigilance dissolves, and that release can feel heavy before it feels light. Give yourself grace here. You are not lazy, you are integrating. Another sign is that your boundaries became firm without anger. You say no without explanation. You walk away without drama. You protect your peace instinctively, and you don't feel the need to justify it anymore. This doesn't come from selfishness, it comes from self-respect, anchored in God. You may also notice synchronicities increasing, not in a flashy way, but in quiet confirmations. Conversations align, messages arrive at the right moment. Answers come just when you stop searching. This is alignment responding to alignment. Let me say something very important now. When your blue power activates, attacks don't always come as conflict. They come as distraction, overthinking, doubt, subtle emotional pressure. You may question whether you are imagining things, whether you're exaggerating your importance, whether you should shrink back. That doubt is not failure, it's transition. Authority always feels unfamiliar at first, especially if you were trained to stay small, quiet, or accommodating. Your spirit is learning to occupy space without apology. Another sign is this: you no longer argue to be understood. You allow misunderstanding without panic. You've realized that clarity does not require consensus, and peace does not require agreement. That shift alone tells me your power is active. You also begin to see people more clearly without losing compassion. You understand why they behave the way they do, but you don't excuse what harms you. This balance is rare. Empathy without self-betrayal, understanding without tolerance of dysfunction. That is spiritual maturity. Chosen one, you may have wondered why certain doors closed suddenly, why things you prayed for didn't happen the way you expected, why some plans fell apart without warning. Let me reframe this for you. When your power activates, God removes what no longer fits quickly. Delay becomes protection. Redirection becomes mercy. And yes, sometimes that hurts, even when it's necessary. You may grieve versions of yourself you outgrew, dreams that no longer resonate, relationships that once felt safe. That grief is not regression, it is honoring growth. Let me ground you again. If you feel more selective, more discerning, more calm, more internally stable and less reactive, your power is not dormant. It is active, fully. And here is the part that often brings relief. You don't need to do anything dramatic to prove this power exists. Your life will speak for itself. Your peace will speak. Your clarity will speak. Your timing will speak. You are not here to convince anyone. You are here to walk in alignment. If you've been feeling like you're standing between worlds lately, no longer fitting where you were, but not fully seeing what's next, that is a sign too. You are in transition, and transition is where authority solidifies. In the next part, I'm going to explain why God kept you hidden for so long, and why that season of invisibility was not rejection, but preparation. Stay with me. What comes next will bring healing to places you didn't know still needed it. There is one more sign that many chosen ones overlook because it feels so ordinary. Your relationship with conflict has changed. You don't seek it, but you're no longer afraid of it either. When tension arises, your body stays calmer, your mind stays clearer. You don't rush to defend yourself. You listen first. That steadiness is authority settling into the nervous system. You may also notice that your intuition has become gentler but more accurate. It no longer screams, it whispers. And yet, those whispers prove correct more often than not. This is how God trains discernment at a higher level. Noise is replaced with knowing. Another quiet sign is how you handle disappointment. Things still hurt, but they don't shatter you. You recover faster. You extract wisdom instead of bitterness. You no longer spiral into self-blame the way you once did. That resilience is not learned from books. It is forged through surrender. You might find yourself drawn to simplicity, cleaner spaces, fewer commitments, clearer intentions. This is not minimalism for trend's sake. This is alignment expressing itself outwardly. When your inner world clears, your outer world follows. Let me also address something many of you feel but rarely say out loud. You sense that people watch you more closely now, not in admiration necessarily, not always in hostility, but in curiosity. They feel something around you that they can't define. That awareness can feel uncomfortable at first. It can make you want to shrink. Don't. You are not being called to perform. You are being called to remain present. Another sign is how quickly lies exhaust you. You cannot entertain half-truths anymore, even when they benefit you. Integrity has become non-negotiable. You would rather lose comfort than lose alignment. That is not weakness, that is strength matured. And finally, chosen one, you may notice that fear no longer drives your decisions. Caution, yes, Wisdom, yes, but not fear. Even when you don't know the full outcome, you feel a quiet trust underneath your choices. That trust is not optimism, it is anchoring. If these signs resonate deeply, let this settle your spirit. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are not imagining your growth. Your blue power has activated not to isolate you, but to stabilize you. And once stability is established, God can move you exactly where you are needed next. Why you were hidden for so long. Chosen one, this is the part many of you have wrestled with in silence. The waiting, the invisibility, the feeling of being overlooked while others advanced. I want to tell you plainly, without poetry or mystery, God did not hide you because you lacked value. He hid you because you carried weight. Anything valuable is protected while it is being prepared. You were not delayed, you were insulated. While others were being seen, you were being shaped. While others were gaining attention, you were gaining discernment. God was doing a deep work in you that could not survive public scrutiny too early. Let me say this clearly. If you had been exposed when you wanted to be, you would have been damaged by it. You did not yet have the boundaries, the emotional regulation, or the spiritual discernment to carry influence without losing yourself. God does not promote what he has not stabilized. That hidden season was not empty. It was full of quiet lessons. You learned how to sit with discomfort without running. You learned how to hear God without constant signs. You learned how to obey without applause. Those lessons are rare, and they cannot be taught in visible seasons. You may have felt forgotten. You may have questioned your calling. You may have wondered if you misunderstood God altogether. That confusion was not failure, it was refinement. God was stripping away motivations that would have polluted your authority later. Visibility tests ego. Invisibility tests faith. And you passed the test even when you didn't realize you were being examined. That hidden season also exposed wounds that needed healing. Rejection surfaced. Abandonment patterns revealed themselves. Control issues came into focus. If those wounds had remained hidden under success, they would have sabotaged you when pressure increased. So God slowed everything down. He allowed relationships to fall apart so you could learn discernment. He allowed plans to collapse so you could learn surrender. He allowed silence so you could learn trust. Not trust in outcomes, but trust in Him. Let me speak to the loneliness you felt. That loneliness was not punishment, it was space. Space for your nervous system to reset. Space for your identity to detach from performance. Space for your spirit to grow strong without leaning on external validation. Many chosen ones confuse loneliness with abandonment. They are not the same. Abandonment removes support. Loneliness creates capacity. You were learning how to stand without leaning. That season also taught you how to survive disappointment without becoming bitter. You watched people misunderstand you. You watched doors open for others that stayed closed for you. And yet, something in you refused to harden. That softness is not weakness, it is maturity. God was watching how you handled frustration, how you handled delay, how you handled silence, because authority without emotional maturity becomes destruction. And here is the part that may bring you peace. You were hidden because your calling affects people deeply. God does not rush those whose presence shifts environments. He takes His time forming them. Even Jesus lived in obscurity for years before His public ministry. Preparation always exceeds exposure. So if you've been wondering why things are just now shifting, it's because the foundation is finally strong enough. Your blue power could not activate fully until humility, discernment, and emotional stability were established. You are not behind schedule. You are right on time. And now that the hidden season has done its work, you are stepping into a phase where you no longer need protection through invisibility. You carry protection within you now. In the next part, I will show you how to walk in this power without fear, without ego, and without losing the peace God worked so hard to establish in you. Stay with me. This is where stability becomes strength. There is another reason God kept you hidden that many people never understand until much later. Exposure amplifies everything, strengths and weaknesses. confidence and insecurity, wisdom and wounds. If your wounds had been amplified before they were healed, your calling would have turned into a burden instead of a blessing. God was protecting you from yourself. During that hidden season, you were forced to confront parts of you that success would have allowed you to ignore. Old fears, the need for approval, the habit of overgiving, the tendency to carry responsibility that was never yours. If those patterns had followed you into visibility, they would have drained you completely. So God removed the noise. He allowed disappointment to slow you down so you could finally listen to what your soul had been trying to say for years. He allowed isolation so you could differentiate between God's voice and the expectations of others. He allowed boredom so you could detach your worth from constant productivity. You were learning how to exist without performing. That lesson is priceless. Many people step into influence still chasing validation. They preach peace but live anxious. They speak faith but move in fear. God refused to let that be your story. He waited until your identity was rooted, not reactive. Another reason you were hidden is because discernment grows best in silence. In loud seasons, we react. In quiet seasons, we observe. You learned how to watch patterns instead of personalities. You learned how to read energy instead of words. You learned how to sense when something was misaligned without needing proof. Those skills were not accidental, they were cultivated. And yes, it hurt to watch others move ahead while you stayed still. It hurt to feel ready but unseen. It hurt to pray and hear nothing back. But in those moments, something stronger than ambition was forming in you. Trust. Not trust that things would work out your way. Trust that God knew what He was doing even when you didn't. That kind of trust changes how you walk forever. You also needed that hidden season to unlearn urgency. Urgency is the language of fear. God does not move in panic. He moves in precision. And you had to learn how to wait without anxiety, how to move without rushing, how to rest without guilt. Now you don't chase. You respond. That is authority. Let me also speak to the rejection you experienced. Some of it was not personal. Some people simply could not access you at the level God was shaping you for. Your depth made them uncomfortable. Your questions challenged their assumptions. Your calm exposed their chaos. So they distanced themselves. That rejection saved you. It filtered your circle. It taught you who could walk with you and who could not. God was curating your environment long before you realized it. And here's something many chosen ones struggle to accept. Not everyone who leaves is an enemy. Some people leave because their role in your life is complete. Holding on to them would have kept you tied to an older version of yourself. God removes what cannot go where you are going. During that hidden season, your spirit also learned humility in a way visibility could never teach. You learned that your worth did not increase with recognition. You learned that obedience mattered more than applause. You learned that faithfulness in small things is still faithfulness. Those lessons anchor you now. That is why, even as things begin to shift, you don't feel desperate to be seen. You don't feel the need to announce your growth. You don't crave attention the way you once did. You are content letting God do the revealing. That contentment is a sign of readiness. Let me say something that may settle your heart. The delay you hated was the mercy you didn't recognize at the time. God was saving you from burnout, from misalignment, from relationships that would have drained you, from responsibilities you weren't meant to carry. He was not withholding good. He was preserving you for better. Now, when pressure comes, you don't crumble. When criticism appears, you don't collapse. When opportunities arise, you don't rush blindly. You evaluate, you discern, you listen. That is because the hidden season gave you roots. Trees with shallow roots grow fast, but they fall easily. Trees with deep roots take time, but they withstand storms. God chose depth over speed for you, and now when visibility begins to increase, it won't intoxicate you, it won't define you, it won't replace God as your source, because you already learned how to stand when no one was watching. So if part of you still mourns the time you feel you lost, let me reframe it gently. Nothing was wasted. Every quiet moment strengthened you. Every unanswered prayer refined you. Every closed door redirected you. You were not hidden to be forgotten. You were hidden to be prepared. And now, preparation has done its work. How to walk in your power without fear. Chosen one, this is where many people stumble. Not because the power is too much, but because they don't know how to carry it without letting fear or ego distort it. Authority that is not grounded becomes dangerous, and God did not bring you this far to let imbalance undo you. So listen carefully. Walking in your blue power does not mean asserting yourself constantly. It does not mean correcting everyone. It does not mean proving discernment. True authority does not need performance. It needs presence, and presence is quiet. One of the first disciplines you must hold on to is emotional regulation. You've already learned this, but now it must become intentional. When pressure comes, slow down. When provocation appears, pause. When confusion tries to enter, breathe. You are not meant to react the way you once did. Your calm is not weakness, it is leadership. Fear often tries to disguise itself as urgency. You will feel moments where you think you must act immediately, speak immediately, decide immediately. That is not always God. God rarely rushes his chosen. He confirms, he settles, he aligns. If something is truly meant for you, it will not require panic. Another way you walk in this power without fear is by staying obedient in small things. Big authority is sustained by small faithfulness. Keep your prayer life simple and honest. Keep your conscience clean. Keep your motives clear. Power fades when integrity erodes, but it strengthens when humility remains intact. Let me say something that may challenge you gently. You do not need to explain your growth to people who benefited from your confusion. Some will resist the version of you that no longer bends. Do not argue with them. Do not shrink for them. Let your consistency speak. Silence is one of your greatest tools now, not avoidance. Discerned silence. Knowing when words would dilute truth instead of clarify it. Knowing when explanation would invite manipulation instead of understanding. You were trained for this. Trust it. Walking without fear also means staying connected to God more than outcomes. There will be moments where you feel unsure of the next step. That does not mean you've lost direction. It means God is asking you to stay present instead of projecting into the future. Fear lives in imagined outcomes. Authority lives in obedience to the next step. You must also protect your inner world fiercely, not aggressively, but intentionally. Limit exposure to environments that drain you. Limit conversations that pull you back into old patterns. Limit over-explaining. Peace is not passive. It is maintained. Another important truth. Power does not mean independence from God. It means deeper dependence. The moment you start trusting your discernment more than God's voice, imbalance begins. Stay teachable. Stay prayerful. Stay grounded. And yes, there will be moments when ego whispers, when you feel above certain people, when impatience creeps in. Do not condemn yourself. Notice it. Release it. Return to humility. Authority stays clean when self-awareness remains intact. Let me reassure you here. God does not give power and then abandon. He walks with you as you learn how to carry it. Mistakes will happen, but you are not walking alone. The key is this. Stay anchored in peace, not performance. Stay rooted in truth, not reaction. Stay aligned with God, not image. If you do that, fear will not control you, ego will not distort you, and your power will remain what it was always meant to be. In the next part, I will tell you what happens next for the chosen ones, so you don't misinterpret the season ahead or place expectations where God is asking for patience. Stay with me. You're closer than you think. There is another discipline you must learn now, and it may be the most important one of all. Learn to trust God when nothing is happening. When there is no movement, no confirmation, no visible progress. Power does not mean constant motion. Sometimes it means standing still without anxiety. Many chosen ones struggle here because they associate growth with momentum. But God often works deepest in stillness. When you can remain calm without stimulation, without reassurance, without applause, you demonstrate maturity of spirit. Fear tries to fill silence with worry. Authority allows silence to remain empty. You will also need to become comfortable with being misunderstood. This is not a punishment. It is a byproduct of clarity. When your inner world becomes ordered, those who thrive in confusion will project onto you. Let them. Correcting every misconception drains energy you are meant to steward. Remember this: you are not responsible for managing how others feel about your growth. Another way to walk without fear is to release the need to control outcomes. Control often disguises itself as responsibility, but not everything that affects you is yours to manage. God never asked you to carry the weight of the world. He asked you to walk in obedience. When something feels heavy, ask yourself this quietly: is this mine to carry, or is this mine to trust God with? That question alone will restore peace. You must also learn to rest without guilt. Rest is not laziness, it is alignment. Your nervous system has carried years of vigilance. Now God is teaching you how to exist without constant alertness. That transition takes time. Honor it. Rest is where integration happens. Let me address another fear many chosen ones don't speak about. The fear of losing this clarity. The fear of slipping back into old patterns. That fear itself is a sign of growth. It shows awareness. But do not let it turn into hyper-control. You are not fragile. What God built in you is stable. Trust that stability. Trust the lessons you learned. Trust the discernment that was forged through experience, not theory. And finally, understand this: walking without fear does not mean you will never feel it. It means fear no longer drives your decisions. It may knock, but it does not lead. It may whisper, but it does not rule. When fear arises, don't fight it aggressively. Acknowledge it. Ground yourself. Return to truth. Fear loses power when it is seen clearly. Chosen one, you are not meant to live tense. You are meant to live anchored. Your power flows best when your body is calm, your mind is clear, and your spirit is aligned. If you walk this way, you will notice something profound. Life will begin to respond to you differently, not because you demand it to, but because alignment always creates order, and order brings peace. That is how you walk in power without fear. What happens next for the chosen ones? Chosen one, this is where curiosity often turns into anxiety if it is not guided properly. So let me steady you before expectations run ahead of wisdom. What happens next is not dramatic the way the world defines drama. It is quieter, cleaner, more intentional. The next phase of your life will not be louder. It will be clearer. Many expect breakthrough to look like sudden visibility, recognition, or rapid movement. But for chosen ones, the real shift happens internally first. Your decisions become simpler. Your priorities become obvious. What once required intense discernment now feels instinctive. You will notice that confusion fades, not because life has fewer questions, but because you trust yourself and God enough to move without needing every answer in advance. What happens next is alignment replacing struggle. You will start noticing that things which once required effort begin to flow more naturally. Not everything, but what is meant for you. Conversations open at the right time. Opportunities arrive without forcing. Resources appear when needed, not early, not late. This is not luck. This is order. Another thing that happens next is increased responsibility, not increased attention. God does not promote chosen ones to impress others. He promotes them to serve with integrity. You may find yourself being trusted more, listened to more, relied on more, sometimes without being asked. People will seek your presence, not your performance. Your calm will become a refuge. Your words will carry weight because they are measured, not excessive. And let me prepare you for this gently. As clarity increases, tolerance for misalignment decreases. You will no longer be able to stay where you don't belong. Jobs, environments, relationships, habits. What no longer fits will become uncomfortable, not out of punishment, but out of protection. This discomfort is guidance. You may also experience a deepening of peace that feels unfamiliar at first. Life won't feel empty, but it will feel spacious. There will be fewer emotional highs and lows, fewer internal battles, more steadiness. Some chosen ones mistake this for stagnation. It is not. It is integration. This phase is about embodiment, not acceleration. Another thing you may notice is that God stops explaining everything, not because he is distant, but because you are mature enough to walk without constant reassurance. Just as a parent stops holding the hand of a child who has learned to walk, God allows you space to move with confidence. Trust that. There will also be moments where you feel called to step forward in small but meaningful ways. Speaking truth when it matters. Setting boundaries where you once stayed silent. Offering guidance without control. These moments will not feel dramatic. They will feel right. That is how you will know you are in alignment. Do not expect everyone to celebrate this version of you. Some will miss the version they could influence. Some will feel threatened by your steadiness. Let them feel what they feel. Your task is not to manage reactions. It is to remain anchored. What happens next is not isolation, but discerned connection. Fewer people, deeper bonds. Less noise, more meaning. Less urgency, more purpose. And here is something that will bring peace if you let it. God will begin to confirm your path through peace, not pressure. When something is right, your body will relax, your spirit will settle. Even if the task is challenging, the alignment will feel clean. When something is wrong, restlessness will return. Not panic, restlessness. Pay attention to that. Chosen one, you are entering a season where your life no longer needs constant explanation. It speaks quietly through consistency, through integrity, through peace. You are not meant to rush this. You are meant to walk it. In the final part, I will bring this message together and help you anchor everything you've received today so you can move forward grounded, calm, and confident in what God is doing in your life. Stay with me. We are almost there. Conclusion. Stand still and let God move. Chosen one, take a breath with me here. Let everything you've heard today settle, not in your mind, but in your spirit. You are not late, you are not behind, and you are certainly not forgotten. What God placed inside you was never meant to be rushed, exploited, or proven to anyone. Your blue power was not given to create fear. It was given to establish truth, peace, and clarity wherever you walk. The unease you sense around you is not a warning, it is confirmation. It means alignment is active and illusion is losing ground. You don't need to fight. You don't need to explain. You don't need to prove anything. Stand still, stay obedient, and let God move. What is meant for you will come without force. What is not meant for you will fall away without regret. Remember this. Authority does not shout, it rests. And you are learning how to rest in who God has called you to be. If this message resonated deeply, it's because you were meant to hear it now. Not earlier, not later, now. Before you go, chosen ones, give a like to this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, turn on the bell icon so you don't miss what's coming next, and share this message with other chosen ones who need clarity and peace right now. And comment 777 to declare that you are aligned, protected, and walking confidently in the mission God has placed on your life. Stay grounded, stay obedient, stay at peace. God is already working.